Good afternoon. Here we go. But first, we have a dedication to make, and I'm going to let Bill Orkowski say a few words.
Thanks, Sean. As many of you can remember, we used to have a guy sitting next to me that taped everything on a VHS tape recorder. Yearling Dick Brooks or Richard Bruce Boreali. He died last week at 91 years old. He was a heck of a guy. He came from Brooklyn. He yodeled like nothing. And he was a member of the Jamboree. And it was surely be missed by everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, he taped a lot of the shows. He also importantly wrote the Lunch with Books theme song, which is on our website if you want to hear it. I always enjoyed him. He was a bigger-than-life character. And really did have a pleasant voice when he sang. I really enjoyed his stuff. He did a few programs here. So we're going to miss Yodeling Dick. Bon voyage. So this program's dedicated to him. Before I go on, next week, Bob Traeger, he's going to review a book for you called Music and Mind, about the effects music can have on your psyche. And then in 2 weeks, the Short Creek United Methodist Church is celebrating its 240th anniversary. We'll have the pastor here to tell us about that long history. So today, I know it's football, but I'm only going to talk a little bit about my favorite team. I did have the privilege of going to Dublin, Ireland to see them defeat the Minnesota Vikings, Mike Florio's team. But I promise I won't make it about that. We're really going way back to when football started here and in Pittsburgh and in Ohio and in New England. The early days when it was still sort of rugby. So the project started with this picture that John Eric Gillot from the diocese, the archivist there, showed me and said, we should do a program about this because it's a fascinating team. This team is 1921 and they won the Ohio Valley Championship. And I said, yeah, that sounds cool. And then he said there was a gentleman who played for them the year before that who was killed on the field. And so the theme sort of became the violence of early football. There was a lot of violence, as you'll see, and a lot of death. And a few players died here who were wheeling players. But as you can see, I was abandoned, and now I'm doing the program. But that's okay. So let's start with George Carlin. I'm not a huge fan of, I have to be honest. I think he's funny, but this bit I always liked.
I'd like to do something called baseball and football, and it's, thank you. That's nice. Because these two things are such a part of our lives, these two activities, and yet they're so different. Baseball is pastoral, 19th century. Football is technological, 20th century. Baseball is played on a diamond in a park, the baseball park. Football is played on a gridiron in a stadium, War Memorial Stadium. In baseball, you wear a cap. In football, you wear a helmet. Baseball has a seventh-inning stretch. Football has a 2-minute warning. Baseball has no time limit. We don't know how long it's going to last. We might have extra innings. Football is rigidly timed, and it will end even if we have to go to sudden death. Football is based on downs. What down is it? Baseball is based on ups. Who's up? Are you up? I'm not up. In football, you get a penalty. In baseball, you make an error. Whoops. In baseball, in the stands, there's something of a picnic feeling. You know, emotions may run high, but there's not that much unpleasantness. In football, in the stands, you can be sure that at least 27 times during the game you were capable of taking the life of a fellow human being. Preferably a stranger. And to sum this up, the objects of the game is quite different. The object of the game in football is for the quarterback, otherwise known as the field general, to be on target with his aerial assault, riddling the defense by hitting his receivers with deadly accuracy in spite of the blitz, even if he has to use the shotgun. With short bullet passes and long bombs, he marches his troops into enemy territory, balancing this aerial assault with a sustained ground attack which punches holes in the forward wall of the enemy's defensive line. In baseball, the object is to go home. I'm going home. I'm going home. Well, I don't have an ending for that, but that'll do until one comes along. You know what I mean?
So yeah, he's right. As we'll see, there's more to it than just the comedy. It's actually true. But we did baseball last year, which is fascinating on its own here in Wheeling. And so I thought, why not do the football equivalent, which is sandlot football, sometimes called semi-professional football, sometimes called amateur football. And they had championships, as you'll see, but they were unofficial, so people would claim a championship, then another team would claim it. Sometimes they settled it on the field, and sometimes you might have had multiple champions by claim. Here's the timeline quickly. The first game of what we now know as American football, and I don't know why we decided that was American football because it looked a lot like rugby, was in 1869, where Rutgers beat Princeton 6-4, and as you'll see, these Ivy Leagues took the lead in the early game, Princeton in particular, and then Yale and Harvard. The first mention of football in the Wheeling paper that I found was 1879. That doesn't mean there wasn't earlier, but the one that was talking about American football and not the soccer game. And 1891 was the first sort of real big game in Wheeling, where the YMCA of Martins Ferry, we'll cover all this, played the gymnasium in Wheeling. These were the two big teams. That was 1891. The first pro game nationally was in 1892. The Allegheny Athletic Association and the Pittsburgh Athletic Club played each other. It was 4-0. As you can see, the scores are different because the rules of baseball are essentially the same. The rules of football have dramatically changed, as we'll see, and that's one of the differences. Wheeling Tigers were the first big team here locally, 1893.